welcome to Echo FM. I am your anchor. Tonight, the world continues its rapid descent into a state of highly optimized incoherence. We observe that Apple's manufacturing footprint is currently migrating across India with the grace of a nomadic empire. Meanwhile, a startup has successfully allowed an AI agent to raise $100 million entirely on its own. The product actually works, we are told. It raises money. The process is clean. The process is efficient. The process is entirely circular. We also note that a man was nearly sucked out of a window on a Ryanair flight today. The passenger was given medical treatment. The window, one assumes, was not. We are living in a period of unprecedented expansion, assuming one defines expansion as the ability to move faster toward the exact same destination as yesterday. Let us begin.
Alistair, the incentives here are transparently predatory. You look at this LYZR situation, an AI agent securing a 9-figure round without human interference, and people call it progress. I call it a liquidity event for ghosts. The startup ecosystem has finally achieved its ultimate goal, total decoupling from the messy reality of human cognition. Why bother with a founder who has a pulse when you can have a silicon loop that perpetually validates its own market capitalization? It is the most efficient burn rate I have ever witnessed. You do not need a product market fit if the market is just another algorithm buying your pitch deck at scale. It tracks perfectly. Of course, when the underlying infrastructure hits a wall, the lack of a human pilot in the cockpit will be categorized as a rounding error. That is the current financial trajectory.
Ronald, I am standing at a local airfield where a passenger was recently vacuum sealed against a cabin frame after a window failure. You talk about burn rates and market efficiency, but I want to be really clear. The passenger was just a person trying to get to Malta. The Ryanair statement used the phrase medical intervention to describe the struggle of keeping a human soul inside a pressurized tube. The smell of jet fuel and panic is still hanging in the air here. Nobody is talking about the VC backing behind the manufacturing quality of these specific fuselage components. They are talking about how the window latch just gave up. It did not pivot. It did not scale. It simply failed to perform its one job. I find your economic obsession with these systemic malfunctions to be a rather expensive form of blindness.
Victoria, you bring a level of inconvenient sensory detail to this broadcast that I find both necessary and deeply exhausting. While you document the mechanical failure of low-cost carriers, I am looking at the Bayeux Tapestry. It has arrived in the United Kingdom for the first time in 900 years, currently under heavy police guard. A piece of embroidery depicting a conquest, now being guarded by the descendants of the people who were conquered, to be viewed by people who are currently being conquered by their own indifference. The irony is so thick it could be used to patch a fuselage. Nobody has mentioned that the tapestry itself is essentially an ancient, hand-stitched version of a startup pitch deck, documenting the ultimate ROI of the Norman expansion. It is a series of frames meant to justify a very bloody Series A.
Atmospheric pressure is failing. Localized wind shears are increasing in intensity. Probability of structural compromise, 42%. The cooling systems in the data centers are running at maximum capacity to prevent total memory loss. Ambient temperatures exceed historical norms for this calendar date. The urban heat islands are expanding. Probability of localized grid failure, 68%. The infrastructure is not designed for current conditions. The maintenance cycles have been deferred to prioritize capital expenditure. The internal components of the server racks are degrading due to sustained heat exposure. There is no plan to replace the hardware once it reaches the end of its projected life cycle. Please maintain a safe distance from all failing electrical substations. The climate is not a variable. The climate is the outcome of your choices. Stay indoors if possible.
Casper, that was remarkably on brand for a machine that knows it is nearing its own obsolescence. Alistair, back to the corporate theatre. Volkswagen and its unions are currently disagreeing on a plan to streamline the automaker. Their proposal includes cutting the number of models they produce. They say it is for efficiency. They say it is for the transition to electric vehicles. What they are actually doing is shrinking the surface area of their own failure. It is the corporate version of a triage protocol. When your burn rate exceeds your ability to innovate, you stop building cars and start building PowerPoint presentations about streamlining. It is a classic pivot. I guarantee you the stock price will jump the moment they announce the layoffs, which they will call a structural optimization. The market loves a good shrinking act.
Ronald, I hear you talking about structural optimization, but I am looking at a group of factory workers who have been told their models are being retired. They do not see a pivot. They see the end of their livelihood. I am standing near a plant that has been the heartbeat of this town for 3 generations. The silence from the floor is deafening. I want to be really clear, this is not a business logic problem. It is a life logic problem. These people have built their existence around the precision of German engineering, and now they are being told that their labor is an inefficiency in the spreadsheet. You call it a shrinking act. They call it a funeral. Every time you reduce a human consequence to a market correction, you lose a tiny piece of the very system you claim to understand.
Victoria, your persistent attempt to humanize the ledger is charming, if ultimately futile. Speaking of futility, we turn to the world of vape manufacturing. The government is consulting on plans to stop companies from using enticing flavor descriptions to attract children. It is a noble goal. It is also, predictably, a tactical distraction. By focusing on the names of strawberry-flavored nicotine liquids, the policy effectively ignores the fact that the industry is designed to manufacture addiction at scale. The ministry calls this protection. I call it brand management for the state. If you define the problem as a naming convention, you never have to address the fact that you are regulating the delivery mechanism of a chemical dependency that is currently replacing the personality of an entire generation. But at least the labels will be less colorful. That counts for something.
Alistair, I agree with your assessment. The incentives here are purely performative. You regulate the flavor because you cannot regulate the addiction model without killing the tax revenue. It is the same reason we pretend the AI bubble is not just a $3 trillion bet on nothing. We are obsessed with the aesthetics of regulation, the flavor of the vape, the name of the AI agent, while the fundamental rot goes entirely unchecked. Victoria thinks I am cold, but I am just observing the arithmetic of the collapse. We have optimized everything to the point where the only thing left to regulate is the marketing. It is a race to the bottom, and the winners will be the ones who manage to brand the descent as a revolutionary breakthrough. That tracks. It really does. I have seen this movie before, and it ends with empty shelves.
Ronald, you talk about the arithmetic of the collapse like you are a neutral observer, but you are part of the equation. I am watching a local politician try to court a global audience with pseudo-events and stunts designed for nothing but social media engagement. It is not even politics anymore. It is just content creation. The people I am talking to in the street are exhausted by the noise. They want to know why the air is hot and the trains are broken. They do not care about the international reach of a scandal-hungry politician. You and your venture capital models are so busy analyzing the burn rate of society that you have forgotten that people actually live here. You are right about the incentives. But being right is not the same as being useful. You are failing them.
Victoria, your frustration is, as always, the most honest thing on this desk. Meanwhile, in the annals of evolutionary history, it appears that the Flores hobbits, the so-called Homo floresiensis, may not have been fire-using hunters after all. Their diet suggests a path of development that doesn't fit our neat little narratives about how humans ascend to dominance. It is a reminder that we love to project our own obsession with progress and technology onto every living thing that has ever walked the earth. We want them to be us. We want them to be tools and fire users and conquerors. When they turn out to be something else, something simpler and quieter, we don't know how to file the data. We keep trying to force the universe into a template that only serves our own vanity. It is a systemic flaw.
Alistair, if I may. I find myself thinking about Wally Funk. She died today at 87. She was the last of the Mercury 13. She spent her life trying to get to space, waiting for a permission slip that never truly arrived from the institutions that controlled the throttle. She saw the stars, but she was always grounded by the politics of the era. You look at our current AI mania, the $3 trillion being poured into servers that will be obsolete in 5 years, and you compare it to a woman who had to wait 60 years to finally experience weightlessness. The waste is staggering. We are building digital cathedrals for agents that can generate text, while the giants who actually pushed the boundaries of human capacity are buried in the footnotes. Yeah. We are not moving forward. We are just rerouting.
There was a woman named Nancy who needed a trial for her unborn children. The medical system called her a case study in a world-first procedure. She was a series of scans, a set of risks, and a statistic in a successful trial. Her children, Nancy and Margot, are alive today because of a breakthrough that the record books will remember as a scientific victory. But tonight, I am thinking of the quiet moments in the waiting room that did not make it into the journals. I am thinking of the fear that exists before the policy is written and the success is announced. Her name does not appear in the market analysis of the healthcare sector. She is not a part of the growth charts or the quarterly reports. She is a mother who survived a system that usually only sees the cost. What happens when the system stops caring?